thank you so much for joining me. On today's episode, we are going to be making apple hand pies. Who doesn't love apple pie? And especially if you and your family get to go to the apple orchard to pick them. Granny Smith apples are the best apples when you're using them in any kind of dessert because they are pretty tart, but you're going to be adding sugar and spices. And hand pies are amazing because then you don't have to slice the pie and you already have all of the servings right there in your hand. All right, I went ahead and already diced up my apples, and I'm going to squeeze a little bit of lemon juice on top, and that just helps with the browning so your apples don't turn brown and yucky looking. Just a teeny tiny bit. You can measure it out if you want to. I've given you the recipe with all the measurements, and you're gonna set those to the side. Okay, in a medium saucepan, we're going to turn it on over medium heat. We're going to add our water, our sugar, all of our spices, and our cornstarch. Now, the cornstarch is what helps thicken that. So you want to make sure that you're stirring constantly. You can either stir with a spatula or a whisk if you have any chunks for 2 minutes once it starts boiling. And you want that to thicken up nicely before you add the apples. Okay, you know that it's ready to add the apples when it's nice and thick and it has a really pretty glossy color to it. I did turn the heat off for just a second. We're gonna go ahead and add those apples to our pot. It's already starting to boil, all right? Now this time we don't need to stir constantly. You're going to let it simmer for about 6 minutes with the lid on top. So you want to turn it down to a low to medium heat, not too high, and it's going to cook those apples. Now I don't know if you guys noticed, but I dice mine very thin. That way they are cooked all the way through. My family doesn't like a whole lot of crunch in their apple pie, so it's really kind of up to you. So about 6 minutes on the stovetop, and then we will be ready for the next step. Okay, our pie filling is finished, so we want to transfer it to another container. I would suggest a glass container just because it is so hot, and you want it to cool off. It does not have to be 100% cool in order to assemble the hand pies. You just want it cool enough that you can handle it, but if you are wanting to make a lot of hand pies or have extra time, you can make the filling the day before, refrigerate it overnight, and then assemble the hand pies. So I'm gonna let this sit and cool off quite a bit before we get ready to assemble. It's now time to assemble our apple hand pies. So we're going to be using this puff pastry. The Pepperidge Farms brand is my favorite. You find it in the freezer section near the Cool Whip. There are different brands out there, so feel free to try out something else. We're only gonna be using 1 sheet of the puff pastry. Inside the bag, there's 2 sheets, so you can refreeze the other one and use it for something else, or you could double the pie filling and make extra hand pies if you want to. All right, so you're gonna go ahead and unroll your puff pastry. It is a little bit delicate, so just be careful. Notice I have it on a mat, and I'm going to use my rolling pin just to make it a little bit thinner. You want it to be about 1/8 of an inch thick. Try to roll it as evenly as possible. Okay. And then I'm going to actually use my pizza cutter to cut it into rectangles. So I'm going to cut it in half down the middle. And let's see, I kind of like big hand pies, so I'm going to break it into 6 pieces total. All right, I kind of used the fold marks as a little guide. Now I have an egg wash here. It's just 1 beaten egg with a couple tablespoons of water. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush the edge of the crust, and it helps act like a glue, okay? So I'm gonna move these to the side just a little bit. Here we go, all right. So you can use your finger, but just remember this is raw egg, or a little pastry brush. And I'm going to just brush right around those edges, around the perimeter of it. And I'm going to place some of my cooled filling inside. Now I'm using a medium scoop. The medium scoop is 2 tablespoons. If you don't have a medium, you might have a mini scoop, and a mini scoop is 1 tablespoon. we want about 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of filling inside of our hand pie. So I want to use my medium scoop, don't overfill it. Place it on one side. Go ahead and close that up. All right. Then I'm going to just take a fork and I'm going to press around the edges with the curved side down. And it gives those cute little indentations like you see on Pinterest. Move this out of the way. All right, I'm going to move it to my cookie sheet that has parchment paper on it. I found these sheets of parchment paper recently. I love them. They're pre-cut. They're perfect for what we're doing right here. You're going to go ahead and make as many hand pies as you can, and then pop these into the refrigerator just like this on the cookie sheet for 30 minutes. My oven is preheating to 375 degrees. I've taken my cold cookie sheet out of the oven, and I'm using that same egg wash to brush across the top of all of the hand pies. This is what gives them that pretty golden look when they're done baking. You're also going to want an extremely sharp knife because we're going to be cutting a few slits inside, or I'm sorry, on the top of each of the hand pies, and then that just allows the heat to escape so things don't ooze out the sides. Now, I noticed on a couple of mine that I may have been a little overzealous and overfilled them, but you know what? That just gives us the opportunity to taste them on our own before we serve them to other people. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut 3 slits in each hand pie. And then I'm going to pop these into the oven for 20 to 25 minutes until they're nice and golden. They are so yummy. They are amazing, eaten warm or cold for breakfast. 20 to 25 minutes and they'll be ready to go. I just pulled the apple hand pies out of the oven and I'm going to transfer them to a cooling rack. As you can see, they are light and fluffy. That's what using the puff pastry does for these hand pies. So they don't look like a traditional pie because we didn't use pie crust, but oh, they're gonna be oh so flaky and tasty. So you're going to want to let these cool most of the way if you're going to eat them warm because the filling is piping hot. Otherwise, you can store them in an airtight container in the refrigerator and bring them to room temperature before you serve. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. That way you're notified every time that we upload a new video. See you guys next time. Bye.